cars for this, the 10th year of the Concours of Elegance here at Hampton Court Palace, and of course celebrating Her Majesty the Queen's 70th Jubilee. So a very, very special selection of motor cars. And the first one coming on stage is a 1994 Bugatti EB110 SS presented by Gregor Fisken. 40 years after Ettore Bugatti's death in 1947, the once legendary marque was acquired by ambitious Italian businessman Romano Artioli. He wished for nothing less than a resurrection of Bugatti in the form of a state-of-the-art supercar, designated EB110, signifying its debut 110 years after Ettore's birth. The Bugatti EB110 was designed by none other than engineer Paolo Stanzani and stylist Marcello Gandini. It's powered by a 3.5-litre fuel-injected V12 quad turbochargers, good for an immense 600-plus horsepower, and this is 1994. 0 to 60 was achieved in just 3.6 seconds, 3.2 seconds in fact, leading to a top speed of around 216 miles per hour.
And this example is one of only 33 Supersport examples, and made even more special due to the fact that it was the only right-hand drive EB110 ever built, and first shown at the 1994 British Motor Show. Its specification is unique as it sports a prototype Supersport engine boasting 610 horsepower, though this was later upgraded in 2001 when the car was sent to Doha for an overhaul and the power boosted to 645. So Gregor and co, thank you for bringing the car. Bugatti EB110 SS from 1994.
Christoph, thank you. Beautifully driven.
And we come more up to date with this astonishing 2021 Bugatti Divo, brought to us today by the Pearl Collection, a modern-day coach-built masterpiece. The Divo is a track-focused hypercar based on the Bugatti Chiron and inspired by Bugatti Vision Gran Turismo concept and the Type 57 SC Atlantic. Bugatti say of it, and I quote, "It will comfortably do an average of 40 miles to the gallon if driven sensibly." I'm not sure you're sensible enough for it to achieve 40 miles to the gallon, but
that's not what they said, is it, Richard?
Well, actually, they say it's athletic, sharp, with distinctive handling properties, stunning lateral acceleration, and a unique design language. The aerodynamics of the car have been intensively fine-tuned for additional downforce.
Well, all of that, and it's powered by an 8-litre quad turbocharged W16, developing a simply mind-boggling 1,479 horsepower and over 1,100 pound-feet of torque. That's a lot. Is that torque? Thank you. And the Divo will accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 2.4 seconds and onto a top speed of 236 miles per hour and probably a bit more. All 40 of them were sold within a day of its debut, and of course to by invitation only existing Chiron owners and loyal Bugatti customers. It's a wonderful car. Thank you so much for bringing it.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. Bugatti Divo.
And here we have a car which I think many of you will have seen. It's the 1938 Bugatti Type 57C Drophead Coupe, presented by Mr. Simon Kidston and Michael Scott. Hello, Michael. Long time no see. Are you cozy in there? It was launched at 1934 Paris Salon, and the new Type 57 model represented a concerted attempt at producing a fast and luxurious touring car in series, and the new model marked Jean Bugatti's emergence as Bugatti's leader and creative force. It was the first new model built under his direction, and it incorporated many features new to Bugatti. And to quote the marque authority Hugh Conway, the model is the most celebrated non-racing car that Bugatti has ever produced. Powered by a work of mechanical art 3.3-litre straight 8 with twin overhead camshaft, and available with or without a Roots type blower or compressor. And I think we can hear there's one on here.
Now, there were various different body styles, and the building of these body was gradually transferred to the coachmaker Gangloff in Colmar, starting with the Stelvio in 1936 and then also the Ventoux. It was undoubtedly a supercar of its day, capable of an impressive 125 miles per hour and its beautiful gangloff coachwork made it the stuff of automotive dreams. And this car is the stuff of this man's dreams and DNA. The car was ordered new by Commander H.R.A. Kidston before a succession of different owners took the car from the UK to North America, and it was reunited with the Kidston family when purchased by Simon in 2016, who took the car on a journey through its own history, including to the historic headquarters in Molsheim.
Well,
Simon,
I've just been
thanks for
told a
bringing
little
it.
story, Richard, and I'm going to quickly recount. Michael Scott is in the car for a very good reason. He was last in the car in 1968. He drove it down to Turin to visit Pininfarina to collect, I think, a Lancia Astora, and they were camping, and there were 3 of them in the car. And of course, it only has 2 seats. So where did you put the tent? Where was the canvas? Did you sleep in the car, Michael? You've done that before. Well, thanks for bringing it.
Great
and
story.
of course,
Good to see you.
lovely history of this car. Very personal to the owner, of course.
And next, ladies and gentlemen, we have this delightful 1925 Vauxhall 3098 OE Wensum, brought to us by Peter Goodwin, the brainchild of Lawrence Pomeroy, one of the most influential British designers and engineers of the pre-war era. The Vauxhall 3098 was a true sports car of its time, was often known as the king of thoroughbreds. The 3098 was manufactured by Vauxhall at Luton, Bedfordshire, from 1913 to 1927. Vauxhall's own description was the super excellent 30 to 98 horsepower Vauxhall Velox sporting car, Velox coming from the Latin for swift, or veloce in Italian.
Look at that wonderful polished aluminium coachwork. And when launched in 1913, only select customers could have one, and just 13 were built before the onset of war. A further 261 were built between 1919 and 1922, followed by the overhead valve, or OE variant, which commenced delivery in early 1923. And this is, of course, overhead valve, or OE variant. This car is an exceedingly rare Wensum variant with the OE motor, the name of which comes from the river that runs from Wissonet in Norfolk to Whitlingham. A.J. Hancock, Vauxhall's works manager, kept a fast motorboat on the Wensum, so that's where he was inspired to name this car. And it's one of 2 original survivors and has an impeccable long-term ownership history and a great alternative to a 3-litre Bentley.
It is. It was a very good alternative 3-litre Bentley, nearly as good. Anyway, thank you very much to Peter Goodwin for sending this 1925 Vauxhall 3098 OE Wensum. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. And next up, we have a 1939 Lagonda V12 Rapide, presented by Sir Charles Chadwick Healy. Very nice of you to bring the motorcar, sir. What's in a name? Well, V12 Rapide says it all. This patriotic British marque was in fact founded by an American, Mr. Walter Gunn, and the name Lagonda was taken from a creek in Ohio. Wonderful to get these backstories on the names occasionally. It was introduced in 1938 specifically to compete with the Alfa Romeo 2900, and the V12 Rapide was an incredible combination, as you can see, of style, luxury and performance. It's elegant, it's distinguished, it's understated, coachwork adorned the chassis, and when launched the car cost quite a lot of money at £1,800.
But this could be justified when one studies its engineering and lifting the bonnet notes that the 4.5-litre V12 was very much the brainchild of W.O. Bentley, who joined Lagonda as its technical director. The Lagonda V12 engine is as beautiful to look at as is sophisticated. This car is the last of 17 V12 Rapides built, was delivered to the USA less than 3 weeks after World War II was declared. The current owner completely restored the car between 2003 and 2005 and upgraded the engine to a similar specification as the 1939 Le Mans cars, which took 3rd and 4th overall in the race. Thank you very much for bringing it, Charles. Wonderful motor car, this gorgeous Lagonda V12 Rapide from 1939.
The wonderful proportions, that car, Richard. I mean, it's big but not too big. It's got that sort of bustle rear, but it's delicate as well. It doesn't look heavy. I mean, it's a really elegant and distinguished motor,
I think. And look at this, talk about elegance. The 1912 Rolls-Royce Silver Ghost London to Edinburgh car, brought to us by Doug McGee Jr. Now, the Honourable Charles Stuart Rolls, British gentleman, adventurer, aviator, racing driver and astute businessman, and Frederick Henry Royce, engineer and innovator, were indeed an indomitable partnership. And the Rolls-Royce 40-50 horsepower, the Silver Ghost, emerged in 1907 and was to earn itself and the company the accolade of the best car in the world. And the original London to Edinburgh chassis made sure of that.
Well, just to tell you a little bit I mean, you know this already, Richard, but I'm going to tell it anyway. Contemporary Rolls-Royce advertising material in 1911 described the feat of the London to Edinburgh in the following terms. The car was a standard 6-cylinder Rolls-Royce chassis of 40-50 horsepower. The trial was to demonstrate that the car could travel from London to Edinburgh and back entirely in top gear. And that at the same time it could show an exceptionally economical petrol consumption. So they were thinking about petrol consumption even back then, and yet attain considerable speed when required. The result, the car travelled from London to Edinburgh and back in top gear on a petrol consumption of 24.32 miles per gallon. Afterwards, without alteration or adjustment, attaining a speed of 78.26 miles per hour on the Brooklands track. And this mighty example, chassis 2211, slightly different body style, but it was placed on test on the 12th of November in 1912 and fitted with a Tourer body by Arthur Mulliner of Northampton. Its chassis is a duplicate of 1701, the original London to Edinburgh winner. And in 1956, the car crossed the Atlantic and was sold to Mark Negrelli in Ohio, a prominent member of the Rolls-Royce Owners Club at the time. He was in fact elected president in 1967, a very important year. Returned to the UK in 1989 and attended the Silver Ghost Centenary at P&A Wood in 2007, wearing the registration AX1. Look at those twin-mounted spares there and all of that brass. It's just wonderful. Fantastic.
Thank you.
What can you tell me? I'm so sorry, ladies and gentlemen. We've got these cars slightly in the wrong order here, and we've picked up, without noticing, rather silly, different description. So I feel that we should re-describe this car correctly when we can find it. We have 4 Silver Ghosts, and this one seems to have found its place in the wrong place. So do forgive us. If you could bear with us, Clive. Well, actually, we're going to come back to this car, ladies and gentlemen, because we seem to have a slight muddle in our information here, but not to worry, we are going to represent that car. I do apologise. So the next car is the 1961 Ferrari 250 GT short wheelbase competition, 1961 CFAC Hot Rod, presented by Clive Beecham. And short wheelbases could be ordered in either competition or road trim, and were highly competitive in racing, in period racing events. Drop dead gorgeous, closed, 2-seat coachwork, with performance to match. The 250 short wheelbase Berlinetta is a car on the wish list of many, many collectors. And the aluminium bodied outside fuel filler competition version, even more so. A year before the 250 GTO, Ferrari created the ultimate short wheelbase. It was later nicknamed the CFAC Hot Rod, and CFAC stood for Società Esercizio Fabbriche Automobili Corsa. It boasted a lighter chassis, a more powerful motor fed by 6 Webers, magnesium castings, stripped out interior, perspex side windows, and the crackle finished dashboard.
Now, this is one of only 20 CFAC hot rods built. It's also the Ferrari Stirling Moss race most, and won in most as well. 5 victories, including the 1961 Goodwood Tourist Trophy. To quote Stirling Moss, "It's quite difficult to fault." chassis 2735 GT was also raced by Graham Hill with Moss at Le Mans, gaining the GT lap record. For the 1962 TT, the Berlinetta crashed into Surtees GTO and Jim Clark's Aston Zagato, necessitating a new Drogo body. Later, the Scaglietti body was rebuilt and full Ferrari Classique certification awarded. In the same ownership for almost 40 years, one SWB is a car that always is driven with enthusiasm and a smile on the road. Thank you very much for bringing the car up.
Thank you. Thank you to Clive Beecham, who is a great supporter of this event, as well as the London Concours.
And next we have the 1954 Ferrari 250 GT Europa Vignale Coupe, brought to us by the Muldoon family, and the most important parts of the Muldoon family are in it as well. So beautiful from every angle, the 250 Europa was the start of a new era for Ferrari's race-bred road cars, one that would be led by refined performance capability rather than the raw potential of its earliest road-going efforts. Most Europas were bodied by Pininfarina, but this car was shaped by Vignale to a Giovanni Michelotti design, having been commissioned by Princess Liliane de Rhéti, who was the second wife of King Leopold of Belgium. This was the last of just 4 Europas clothed by Vignale, and the second of 5 Ferraris to be owned by the Belgian royal household.
And it has numerous bespoke features, including these delicate fins, the wraparound screen, inverted quarter lights, quite distinctive, vents in the front wings and in the bonnet, of course, delicate teardrop cooling vents under the front bumpers, and the contrasting roof accentuating the curves beautifully. And perhaps the most interesting feature, though, is the slightly inclined round opening. We need to have a look at this in the center of the instrument panel. Its intended function remains a mystery, but we are informed by the owner, or perhaps the owner's daughter, I'm not sure, that a bottle of champagne fits in it perfectly. Oh, and you have one to demonstrate. And it's a bottle of wine. Well, I see. Okay. Right. And do you keep ice in there?
I'm surprised there's anything that's still in it, CC. I'd expect an empty bottle in any car driven by you, but there you go. It's a full bottle.
And the gear lever doubles as a corkscrew. Thank you so much. Wonderful car, and that's a wonderful feature. We like it. Drinks cabinet.